And we'll start with James Capia from the Oregonian.
Tim, I'm sure nothing that KT does surprises you anymore, but can you put into words not just the sacks, the sticking with plays, the forcing and setting up other tackles for all the things that he did this past week, how instrumental that was, and what he's going to have to do this week for you against a Utah offensive line who statistically is also obviously superb?
I think he's the best defensive player in college football right now. He disrupts a game. It's just rare to compare him to anybody. You have to take him into account. He's equally effective in the run game as he is in the pass game. People are going to try to screen him and get him running sideways. He chased things down from the backside. It's really impressive to see him work during the week and to show up on Saturday and have it be as productive. And we're a much better defense, obviously, when he's on the field, and we're starting to approach the type of defense we need to be. As it pertains to this week, we have to have him playing at his best. They're a very physical running team. Their pass game primarily is spun off of their run game. They're a powered downhill football team, and they're very physical up front. They've got backs that are very physical. And ever since they've got rising in at quarterback, they've really been productive. And I think they're averaging about 40 points a game the last half dozen games or so. So our hands are going to be full trying to, do some things to disrupt their flow of what they're trying to do. And KT needs to have a big game for us to do that.
Zach Neal, Ducks Wire.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about Autzen just for a second. I think Saturday night might have been as loud as it's been all season. Obviously, that's something you want to make life hard on the offense, but you're now in a position where you have to try and coach through all of that noise. Have you found any difficulties with that?
Not so far. We've got a lot of signals in. I realized back when I was at Texas A&M the first time, when you've got a crowd that's that noisy, you better have defensive signals, because you cannot communicate when the crowd decides to get into it. And the crowd was awesome. Really got Washington State, I thought, on their heels a little bit, made them defensive, and it really got our guys cranked up. So hopefully we'll continue to have those kind of crowds and give them something to cheer about.
Luciano Chatelain, End Zoners.
Hey, Coach, I hope you're doing well, and thanks for your time. Utah ranks 11th in the nation on offensive first downs. What is it that makes their offense so effective, and particularly their run game?
Well, they have an identity. They're very physical up front. They do a nice job of, getting in multiple personnel groupings and creating extra gaps with their system. And so they make you not just play a 2-man surface or a 3-man, but they have 4 and 5, and you better be very, very, clear as to who's got what gap responsibility. And once you do that and you start committing too many people to the run game, their play action game, they've got people who can take advantage of it. So it's a system that Coach Ludwig has really done a nice job of evolving. It's kind of an NFL trend now of scrunching formations down and creating additional surfaces, and then having all the play action game off of it makes it really difficult on defenses when you're trying to stop the run.
Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
Just going back to Saturday's game, they had a lot of success throwing the ball in the first half, but the second half, less than 100 yards. Was there any changes made there? Was that just a byproduct of being more comfortable with what they were doing throughout the course of a game? Was it the pass pressure, the pressure you get in the quarterback that changed? I mean, what shifted there? Because it did seem like it was notably better in the second.
Well, I think we probably played the screen game better in the second half. They hit us on the tunnel and the little swing screen in the first half. You got to do a good job of turning that thing back in. And we were getting good pressure on the quarterback. I thought we disrupted the timing a lot, and it just started taking its effect as the game went on. The drive right after the turnover, I didn't do a good job in my play calling. We probably were in man too much, and we got a rub route down there in the red zone, and we had a screen into it. So, some of that's on me as a play caller. So we've got to, continue to do a great job of chasing screens, and I got to do a good job of anticipating when they're going to run them.
Matt Preem, 247 Sports.
Tim, Utah, when they made the change at quarterback with Cameron Rising, seems like they've taken a jump there and they lead the conference in scoring. I don't think he's thrown an interception in a month. Just your thoughts on him as a player and just how he's maybe changed the offense, what they were at the start of the year.
He's a competitor. The thing that jumps out at me is I think the way he competes, the rest of the offense kind of rises around him. He just makes plays. He's an athletic guy who's got like a little bit of an edge to him, seems like. Probably doesn't have a classic throwing motion, probably isn't a classic, running quarterback or, athletic quarterback, but he moves the sticks and makes that offense go. And it's impressive to see. And, he's a physical runner. They put you in some formations with what they do to, create some situations where he, he's got one read and he can beat a guy when he pulls it. He's not probably the fastest guy on the team, but he's a very, very effective runner, and he puts the ball in the right spot all the time. I mean, he's a very, very accurate thrower. He creates a lot of issues, and obviously their offense has responded to his leadership, and we've got to do some things to try to make him uncomfortable.
James.
Back to a multi-tight end team again, Tim. But your thoughts on how Jamal has progressed in his ability to cover against those guys, and also having a guy like Happel and your inside linebackers, where that was an issue earlier in the season, but they've progressed in their ability in pass coverage. Your thoughts on just the collective group there, the safeties and inside backers and pass coverage of tight ends?
Well, again, what these guys do is everything's, driven off of their run game. So you've got to be extremely disciplined with your eyes. Jordan's usually really good at that. I think early in the season, we had some situations where Jamal was coming in after not being around in camp, and, some of that eye discipline, you need to see it and get burned. You got to understand that stove's hot and you got to touch it. Oh yeah, it is hot before you realize it. And Jamal had those situations early in the year, and he's learned from those. And so his eye discipline's been a lot better. We need it, because I think their tight end position has around 70 or so catches, between all the tight ends, and they're probably the by far the most tight end centered offense in the conference, or one at least what we've faced this year.
Jared Denny, Scoop Duck on 3.
Hey, Tim, I just wanted to ask about Brandon Dorless. I know the box score doesn't always necessarily reflect what he does, but it just seems like he's been really, really disruptive the last few weeks. I'm curious what you've sort of seen from him on tape.
Really twitchy player. I think he's starting to play with much more confidence. As our defense has gotten better, and a large part of that's due to what he and Popo have done up front. They're moving very dynamically. They can penetrate. They're strong at the point of attack. We're doing some things with moving our fronts pre and post snap that they can handle. And, Brandon's a guy that he's athletic enough. You can put him on the edge. And so you got him on one side and KT on the other in some of our packages. And, if they're going to slide the protection one way, one of those guys is going to get a one-on-one most of the time. So he's somebody that, gives us as a play caller more options. And we're going to continue to try to take advantage of his ability, because he's showing that he can handle it, and he's very productive.
Time for 2 more. Eric Berniker, Daily Emerald.
Hey, Coach, thanks for being here. So in the last 6 games, you guys have given up 3 total third quarter points. What does this say about the team's ability to make in-game adjustments, or their ability to be resilient and stick to a game plan?
Well, I think our guys, when we come in at halftime, are smart. We kind of assess where things are and what we need to do. And our guys come out with a different energy. And a lot of that's been due to our offense as well. I mean, they've come out and taken control of running the ball, and, keeping us on the side always helps. So it's been a team effort, I think, in the third quarter. Our guys coming out with a renewed energy, maybe a couple different thoughts, and our offense doing a really nice job of taking care of it.
Last question, James.
Tim, I realize coaches always try to get to know their players as much as possible, but when you're a coordinator, you got half the room and a lot of stories to learn in a quick period of time. And when you're in season, you don't necessarily have the luxury. How much have you gotten to know Brian Addison's more personal story? And it's obviously not a very positive one. A lot of real tragedy there. How much have you just gotten to know him, his background, and what it means to you that he's playing like he has for you the last several weeks.
Well, I don't know all that personal background, but I just love the fact that, I know that he was a receiver a year ago, came over in the springtime and has been really working hard to understand what we're doing. And, we've seen it at practice that he's been making more and more plays, and for him to, get a pick the other day and be as productive as he's been the last couple of weeks, makes me feel good as a coach. Marcel does a great job with those guys in the back end, simplifying things to make sure that they understand it and can play within the package. And, it lets guys like Verone and Hap and Jamal and BA, all those guys really show their athletic ability, and he's got a lot of it. So hopefully we'll be able to, continue to have him evolve. And, we need him because we need that depth. We've been, hit a little bit like everybody in the country with some injuries, and, having a guy like him that you can depend on is very, very important.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
No problem.